Hello, I'm Guy Johnston and I'm a cellist.
And I'm Tom Poster, and I'm a pianist. I love the scope that the piano has, the different colours it can produce. It's a really funny instrument, the piano, because it's this sort of, it's in a way quite an unmusical instrument to look at. It's this big lump of wood and ironmongery. But what I love about it is it can sing. I love making a singing sound on the piano, and I love the kind of orchestral colours you can try and create with the piano.
I love the cello because it's made from a tree, and it's made of wood, and I can hug it every day, and it keeps me out of trouble most of the time, and it also makes me feel every day that I've got something new to learn and to grow with.
Well, firstly, the music. It's just such a joy to spend your life exploring these amazing pieces of music across lots of genres. So yeah, that's number one. But the other thing, yes, is the friendships one makes. And as a pianist, I'm very lucky to play solo music and chamber music and song and concertos and whatever else. And just the friendships that have been forged and the closeness you feel to your musical colleagues and friends making music together is something just very unique. We've got a few interesting performance stories. I think our most iconic moment was during a live radio broadcast from the Hay Festival, where we were playing a duo recital, and we were playing the opening piece, and basically no one had remembered to tighten up the brakes on the piano, so I was just playing, and as I played a sort of slow melody, the piano shot about 3 foot across the floor. So I had to play the next phrase sort of like this, leaning forward, during which time the page turner leapt down and tightened up the brakes. And yeah, I gradually sort of shifted the stool forward, and meanwhile Guy was playing on divinely, sort of wondering what on earth was happening behind him.
Give everything a go, and like we did, we played lots of different instruments, and get involved in. It's not always available in schools, so I think find your local music groups and start to make your friendships and find that teacher that you really connect with.
And I think to really keep things playful at an early stage, I mean, we talk about playing our instruments, but sometimes we get very sort of serious and worried about it, but it should always be play, really. And I think just to explore, to improvise, you know, of course, scales and arpeggios, we all need to practice, you know, sort of learn our way around the instruments, but actually just finding your own ways and making up your own tunes. And there are no rules, basically, in music, and that's one of the great joys of it, I think. It's such a wonderful tool to speak and to release your emotions that I think as children sometimes we can struggle to know how to express ourselves, and a lot of us as children are quite shy, and I think for me that was a big reason I loved playing the piano and the other instruments, because it gave me a voice to express my feelings. I did have one teacher that was particularly significant, Joan Havel at the Guildhall School, who I studied with for many, many years, from sort of quite early on right through my student years. And I think the thing above all, I mean, of all the wonderful things about Joan, just her utter devotion to music. I mean, her whole life has been music, and I think as a role model that was something amazing, you know, and just made me want to work harder and think more. And so yes, I suppose she's been a huge inspiration, but there are many, many more besides.
Music is really my whole being and my whole life. It's been with me as long as I can remember. I wouldn't change a thing about my life. I feel very lucky and privileged to be playing and resonating every day, and so I cannot recommend it more highly to everyone out there. Through all the busyness of school and all the athletics and sport and all the other things that come into your life, if you can just early on do a little and often, you can make your own choices later on. And of course there's lots to experience out there, but I think that music, as we've spoken about, has so many qualities and so many things that engage us and keep us alive, that makes it all the hard work worthwhile.
I absolutely just can't imagine a life without music, and I think it was just even though I knew very little about it, and I didn't come from a musical family or anything, I was just so obsessed from when I was like 3 or 4, if I heard anything. And it wasn't necessarily just classical music or just the piano or anything about it. It was just like all of music. And I feel it did really give me a voice and a way to express myself when I didn't find growing up all that easy as a child and a teenager. It was just something that was, it was my voice and it was my life, and it just carried on being my life. And it never occurred to me that you had to think about, deciding whether to make it a career or not, because I didn't really think about it as a career. It was just all I wanted to do. I think you never lose that love for it, although along the way there are a lot of ups and downs and a lot of doubts and a lot of highs and lows, but I think as long as you hold on to the music and your love for it, then it's the most amazing life.